the program and see what we have today. We'll be back shortly.
Now, on the one hand, there's a long dormant piece of me now awake that wants so very badly to play this out. The other, more reasonable piece of me, what's left of it, would like to end our little tete-a-tete right now. What's done is done. After all, we can both rebuild, right?
Right. Wait. Rebuild?
I burned it. All of it.
What all?
Everything you have. Had. Everything you had.
My art?
I'm shocked! You should have seen it go up. It was something. I mean, this doesn't make us even, because after all, you came to my house, which you know you don't fucking do!
Greetings once again. My name is Sylvia Nkandawire. I work here at the RIFU as the East Impact Project Manager. And once again, please feel very, very welcome, and would like to now officially start our session this morning. Without delaying the program further, I would like to hand over the session to our moderator this morning, our PSC member from the Gambia. This is Dr. Modak Seka. So over to you, Dr. Modak Seka. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Kandawire. Let me use the occasion to welcome all the participants for this important session. As you know, we've had some meetings with the PSC yesterday and have had from the member countries their respective reports and progress or otherwise. And it is very important that we also hear from the donors who are supporting this program, and our presenters will include, of course, two TTLs from the World Bank, a representative from the Agence France Development, AFD, as well as Dr. Kandawire herself. The objective of this session, as you know, is mainly for us to hear from these people the progress and updates that are made in its impact. As a guideline also for this session, the session is going to take 1 hour 30 minutes, 1 hour for the presentations, 25 minutes for question and answers. And I would suggest we use the chat box because the chat box is available so that we can post our questions, which I would be posting to the panelists as we go. I will also be introducing the panelists myself. First, we have Dr. Kandaware, Sylvia Kandaware, of course. Dr. Kandaware is a program manager for the World Bank funded African Higher Education Centers of Excellence for Development Impact Project at the Association of African Universities. She holds a PhD in Agricultural Rural Innovations obtained from Makerere University. Dr. Kandaware also has over 15 years of work experience in African higher education covering East, Central, Southern, and Western Africa, virtually all the Africa region. She has previously served as a program manager for training and quality assurance at the regional universities, Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture, Uru Forum based in Uganda, Kampala. Dr. Kandaware managed 15 multi-donor projects funded by Bill Gates Foundation, MasterCard, USAID, World Bank, Carnegie Corporation of New York, European Union, IDRC, that is with the German government. Then the second presenter will be Dr. Ekwa Bentel, or the second presenters will be two TTLs from the World Bank, Dr. Ekwa Bentel, as well as Ekwa is an education specialist in the practice of the World Bank with a focus on higher education, digital skills, use of technology in education, and overall STEM agendas in sub-Saharan Africa, and improving the participation of women in these areas. She is part of a core team developing the World Bank's education strategy for West and Central Africa. She has been working at the World Bank since 2015. Bentel is an EdTech fellow and is also the Africa region's lead on the digital skills pillar for the World Bank Digital Economy for Africa, which is certain as D4A initiative. She is a lead on regional projects and initiatives, including the Africa Centers of Excellence for Development Impact Projects, ACE Impact, focusing on postgraduate education and research across various sectors, a new regional higher education project under preparation called RAISE on strengthening the advanced digital skills workforce in sub-Saharan Africa by reforming computer science and engineering programs, and the skilling of African youths, and the partnership of skills in applied science, engineering, and technology, which is usually shortened as PASET, which has operationalized a regional scholarship and innovation fund, RCIF, for PhD training and a benchmarking initiative for African universities. Prior to joining World Bank, Bentel worked as at Wall Street with Goldman Sachs in New York as a market risk modeler. She holds a PhD and master's degree 2011-2008 in electrical engineering from Princeton University, and a 3-2 dual bachelor's degree in 2006 in physics from Brian Maher College and electrical engineering from the California Institute of Technology, Caltech. Mrs. Himdad Bayusuf, of course, is the second TTL from the bank also. She is a proactive citizen education specialist with 12 years of demonstrated record of performance at the bank. Him that has extensive operational and analytical skills with strong experience leading project preparation, implementation, support, and supervision of the World Bank basic education, higher education, and skills projects in West Africa, East Asia, and Pacific, and Middle East and Northeast regions, which is the MENA region. Him that is currently the TTL for the first ACE Impact project and co-TTL for the second ACE Impact project. The scaled up ACE Impact project that covers 40 universities across 10 countries. She was TTL of the flagship regional Centers of Excellence Higher Education project, which is ACE1, which was a highly successful regional higher education project in West Africa. In addition to managing successfully large complex regional projects, IMDAD is currently TTL of Skills Project in Sierra Leone, a skills fund focused on the delivery of demand-led TVET training. Additionally, she was also the team leader of the Revitalizing Education in Sierra Leone project that focused on improving the learning environment and service delivery, and which successfully implemented the first fully digitized annual school census in Africa, ensuring geolocations of all 10,000 schools in the country. The last but not the least would be Dr. Quinten Delpe, higher education specialist from the Agence France Development, AFD. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the nutshell, the introduction of our highly experienced panelists. And then I will want to start by requesting for Dr. Makandwea to do his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Modseka. We were trying to make sure that all our distinguished guests for the opening ceremony, they are all connected. Now we have all of them. So I would like to, with your permission, to request you that we allow to receive the welcome address by our three distinguished participants. Professor Ehile, the Secretary General from the Association of African Universities. And then we have Dr. Halil Duda from the World Bank, and Marion, who is going to be represented by Dr. Quentin Depeche from the AFD. So at this moment, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Professor Ehile to share with us his opening address. Over to you, Prof. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Sylvia. Distinguished members of steering committee, government representative here present, the representative of World Bank, the representative of AFD, honorable vice chancellors, ACE Impact Center leaders, team members and students, team members and experts from the World Bank, AFD and AAU, industry partners, colleagues and friends from the higher education stakeholder community, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Please, can you use now your headset, earset? Mesdames, Messieurs, au nom de l'Association des universités africaines et de ses partenaires, je voudrais emboîter le pas à mes prédécesseurs et vous souhaiter à mon tour à vous tous la bienvenue au 5e atelier régional de CA Impact qui débute ce matin. Au rappel, avant notre rencontre virtuelle de ce jour, les centres ont organisé et participé de manière excellente à des tables rondes nationales, tandis que la réunion du comité de pilotage du projet s'est également tenue hier. Je tiens à remercier tous ceux qui ont contribué à la réussite de ces événements. Depuis notre dernière réunion en octobre 2020, plusieurs réalisations et progrès notables ont été enregistrés au niveau du projet, malgré les effets pervers de la pandémie de COVID-19. En effet, les centres d'excellence ont fait preuve d'innovation et ont contribué de façon significative à la lutte contre le virus dans leurs pays respectifs et leurs régions, et ont généralement œuvré à la transformation du continent par le biais d'une éducation de qualité et d'une recherche appliquée d'excellence. Nous apprécions cet effort et reconnaissons en outre le soutien offert au centre par les différents partenaires et gouvernements de 11 pays participants. Mesdames et messieurs, l'agenda 2063 de l'Union africaine, les objectifs de développement durable et divers autres agendas mondiaux et continentaux soulignent tous l'importance de donner aux citoyens, en particulier aux jeunes, les moyens de vivre une vie digne avec des occupations significatives de leur choix qui contribuent à l'épanouissement individuel et à une Afrique et un monde intégré, pacifique et prospère. C'est exactement ce que fait le projet CA Impact par le biais de ces centres en offrant une éducation transformative aux étudiants, tant au niveau régional que national. Par ailleurs, le projet vise à donner à ces jeunes les moyens d'acquérir des compétences recherchées au XXIe siècle afin de leur permettre de redresser le continent et d'aider à surmonter ces défis de développement. De plus, l'autonomisation des femmes et des jeunes filles est d'un intérêt particulier pour le projet. Nous sommes donc ravis de savoir que les centres aient fait des progrès remarquables en attirant et en inscrivant davantage de femmes. Il s'agit d'un saut qualitatif pour changer le discours selon lequel les femmes ont des niveaux d'éducation et de formation inférieurs, acquièrent moins de compétences scientifiques et technologiques et sont sous-représentées au poste de direction dans les administrations publiques et privées. Mesdames et messieurs, dans quelques instants seront présentées des mises à jour sur les différentes facettes du projet, y compris, entre autres, les décaissements et l'utilisation des fonds, les RLD réalisés à ce jour, le suivi et l'évaluation, les sauvegardes et la passation des marchés. Notre réunion d'aujourd'hui et celle des 3 autres jours à venir de la semaine fourniront en effet des plateformes nécessaires pour nous permettre de discuter des questions pertinentes concernant le projet CA Impact, de nous mettre à jour sur son statut et de partager les idées sur les moyens d'améliorer le mécanisme dans le but de nous permettre un résultat encore meilleur lors de notre prochaine réunion. J'encourage donc nous tous à participer activement, à partager nos histoires à succès et les principales leçons apprises au cours de la période afin de nous permettre de tirer le meilleur parti de notre réunion ici à cet atelier. Mesdames et messieurs, pour l'Association des universités africaines, l'amélioration de la qualité de l'enseignement supérieur et de la recherche en Afrique est au cœur de notre mandat et reçoit donc une attention prioritaire dans notre plan stratégique. Et c'est pourquoi je saisis cette occasion pour assurer cette auguste assemblée du fort engagement de l'AUA en tant qu'unité de facilitation régionale pour s'assurer que les objectifs et les buts du projet CA Impact soit atteint avec le soutien de la Banque mondiale, de l'AFD et d'autres parties prenantes créées de l'école. Pour l'immense travail abattu lors des préparatifs en vue d'assurer le succès de la réunion du comité de pilotage et du 5e atelier régional de CA Impact. Je voudrais enfin, mesdames et messieurs, saisir l'occasion de cette plateforme pour vous inviter tous à participer cardinal des dirigeants d'universités africaines organisées en virtuel par l'Association des universités africaines du 5 au 8 juillet 2021, l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain. C'est l'un des plus grands rassemblements de parties prenantes de l'enseignement supérieur sur le continent et nous encourageons tout le monde à participer en s'inscrivant. Et veuillez donc contacter le secrétariat de l'AUA pour de plus amples informations sur cet événement. Et sur cette note, mesdames et messieurs, je nous souhaite à tous des délibérations fructueuses et je vous remercie pour votre aimable attention.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Professor Ehile. We appreciate the opening remarks. At this point, distinguished participants, let me welcome Dr. Halil Duda from the World Bank. Dr. Duda, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Distinguished representatives of the Ministries of Higher Education, Professor Etile, representatives from our partners of the ACE Impact Project, my fellow World Bank colleagues, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you for responding to our invitation to take part in this virtual workshop. This is the fifth workshop for ACE Impact program. We are organizing this in collaboration with the AAU. All your contributions have been very important in moving forward the implementation of the ACE Impact project. The ACE Impact program.
You can hear.
You cannot
it's clear there.
Can you
speak louder, please?
I can't hear anything.
Sure. The ACE Impact program, can you hear me? The ACE Impact program continues.
In the French. It's not okay. But no, you use this. You assign him. Okay, no, it's not my
Impact program, which has two projects, as you know, which covers 11 countries, over 30 institutions, more than 50 centers across more than 10 fields or sectors, with more than $300 million funding from the World Bank. Given the limited resources available to support the supply and quality of postgraduate training and applied research in higher education in Africa, the ACE program provides an opportunity for maximizing the use of these resources and the competitive advantage that each country and institutions have to offer to the region. As of today, as you will hear from our team, ACE Impact projects are progressing very well. We are very pleased to see the progress of the project during this very difficult time around the world we have during the last 1.5 years. The overall disbursement rates are approximately 33% for the first ACE Impact and 23% for the second ACE Impact, despite there are some challenges in various centers of various countries, but this is really good progress over the last 1.5 to 2 years. This is an important achievement, and I But also, I really urge you, I call on all of you here today to continue to accelerate the implementation of this important project. For the second time, we will conduct this workshop virtually. Our team had in the fall, early this year, and this is the second virtual workshop. Across the world, we had a very difficult year because of the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Although consequences of COVID-19 have been devastating and far-reaching, our meeting here today virtually continues to signal the persistence of the ACE Impact project. While borders continue to remain closed, international travel is limited, physical distancing continues to remain the norm of some time, the implementation of the ACE Impact has not stopped. We are very pleased to see the progress under very difficult conditions in many countries. And for that, I would like to congratulate all of you for your commitment to the implementation of the ACE Impact program. We had a number of successes under various ACE Impact centers. We have seen some remarkable innovation in research and education from our centers. I think some of them the team will highlight, and we at the World Bank, we also really celebrated some of the successes of ACEs you have had. A few of them are the Africa Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infection Disease intensified studies since our last meeting to clarify to identify the new variants of the coronavirus that hit Nigeria in December 2020. Then the second, the success we have seen in one of our centers, Africa Center of Excellence for Cell Biology of Infectious Disease and Non-Communicable Diseases in Ghana, has also studied and detected new COVID-19 variants in Ghana. There are a number of other successful examples across the centers. This really shows the success of ACE centers across the region. We are very pleased to see the successful examples. I think you will share some of the examples to hear from other centers during these difficult times, how investment in higher education, investment in science and technology can really contribute to some of the challenges Africa higher education is facing and contributing to the region's development. But there are also some successful partnerships and collaborations are taking place in several countries. Despite the current limitation to effective communication and collaboration, centers continue to establish linkages with other ACEs and non-ACE centers or entities to strengthen regional impact. For example, Africa Center of Excellence for Regional Transport Research recently established a partnership with the Republic of Sierra Leone to train PhDs for a Bay College. This is the essence of ACE program, to really at the regional level to collaborate, share knowledge, and to address some of the challenges Africa is facing. Being an engine to development, building hubs for innovation and progress. We are very pleased to be part of it, to support across the region. Let's keep doing this. Keep innovating, and let's keep making an impact to address challenges Africa is facing. Higher education has an important role to play, and I think you are showing how to achieve that, to address them. As you're aware, we all around the world, we had very difficult time because of the impact of COVID-19, and the centers obviously were affected despite there's some of the technical and operational challenges. But the centers really try to address these challenges, and then even in some cases through virtual teaching and learning, the our team has been working with you to also to take advantage of some of the innovations in this area.
Wow.
Our focus over the next few days will be discussing mechanisms to offer operational and technical support to improve the verification of results, among other challenges, and to welcome a community of peer-to-peer learning experience. As the pandemic has taught us, the importance of successful digital learning cannot be overstated. This workshop will highlight the advancement of the ACE Impact Digital Learning support through a partnership between AU and EPFL. Additionally, ACE Impact centers have participated in a digital skill gap assessment and a number of other innovations in this area, how to take advantage of digital learning. The next few days, we will see engaged discussion to take place on how to improve the quality of teaching and learning in Africa's higher education institutions, how to offer operational and technical support to the unique challenges that centers may face. This is one of the ideal platform for exchanging ideas, peer learning. I think advantages of this regional programs really to come together to share good practices, and so that you can also address in your other programs in your home countries. Before closing, I would like to take the opportunity to thank AU for being at the forefront in the support of the ACE Impact projects. Our team we have been working with them very closely during the last, since the start of the ACE-1 project, we successfully closed. But also under this ACE Impact projects. Then how also they responded to the ACE Impact project on the COVID-19 response plan. I would also like to stress the human capital development as is a priority for the World Bank, which is one of our core pillars as part of Africa strategy. Aligned with the national priorities, as government seeks to boost their human capital, there are currently national higher education projects in a number of countries, including Senegal, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire. ACE can be an excellent platform for introducing innovative features that other countries can potentially scale up nationally, including performance-based financing and competitive financing. I'm very delighted to be among you today. I've been working closely with some of you in the development of the higher education programs. ACE Impact has been a successful model, and then next few days we will be discussing more in detail how to really scale up and intensify our implementation so that the program can be successfully implemented to address some of the challenges African countries are facing. I wish you very fruitful deliberation. Thank you so much for your participation. Over to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Halil Douda, for the comprehensive opening remarks. We really appreciate your presence. At this moment, distinguished participants, allow me to welcome the representative from the AFD. This is Dr. Quentin Depeche. Over to you, Dr. Quentin. Dr. Quentin Depeche from the AFD.
Oui, excusez-moi, désolé, j'avais un problème de son. Donc, nous remercions donc l'ensemble de l'équipe de l'AUA, donc à commencer par le professeur Eilé, au docteur Sylvia Makandawar, donc le project manager ACE Impact, à l'ensemble des équipes de l'AUA, aux représentants de la Banque mondiale et à nos collègues TTL de la Banque mondiale, et à l'ensemble des membres du comité de pilotage et surtout des responsables et acteurs des centres d'excellence qui sont tous réunis aujourd'hui. Le projet ACE Impact arrive à un tournant important avec plus d'une année d'exécution désormais. Et donc, comme l'ont fait le professeur Eilé et Monsieur Dundar de la Banque mondiale, l'AFD veut vraiment mettre en avant la résilience dont ont fait preuve les centres d'excellence dans une période si particulière du Covid, à commencer par la contribution des centres d'excellence en santé aux réponses Covid-19 des pays, mais aussi à l'adaptation continue sur l'activité de formation et l'activité de recherche des centres dans le contexte de Covid, de fermeture d'universités, à travers un recours vraiment accru au numérique et à des solutions et des innovations qui ont été trouvées tout au long de la période par les centres d'excellence. Donc, féliciter vraiment les centres d'excellence pour cette résilience et puis les féliciter aussi pour des taux de décaissement qui montrent que le projet avance et avec des premiers résultats importants. Donc, les résultats vont être présentés par l'équipe de l'AUA, mais on peut déjà noter un certain nombre de publications scientifiques, donc plus de 1800 publications scientifiques dans des revues à comité de lecture sur les thématiques des centres, plus de 10 000 étudiants recrutés, dont un tiers de jeunes étudiantes, 1800 étudiants ayant réalisé des stages dans l'industrie et près de 30 millions de dollars générés en activités de recherche partenariale et en activité avec le secteur productif. C'est des résultats qui sont extrêmement encourageants et qu'il convient bien sûr de poursuivre et d'accélérer sur la phase projet qui nous attend. L'AFD a par ailleurs octroyé en soutien à ce projet un financement de 6 millions d'euros en dons pour le réseautage des centres d'excellence, donc en lien avec l'IRD, l'Institut de recherche pour le développement, et l'AUA. Et un premier versement a été réalisé, donc qui a permis de financer des activités pour accélérer la collaboration entre les centres d'excellence sur 4 thématiques: les mines et environnement, la santé et les maladies infectieuses, les sciences du numérique et la gestion durable de l'eau. Donc ces 4 réseaux sont actuellement financés et donc les centres d'excellence bénéficient d'appui et d'opportunités de financement pour collaborer entre les centres. Et on voulait à cette occasion, et vous aurez l'occasion dans cette même journée d'avoir une présentation plus détaillée du projet ACE Partner avec l'AUA et l'IRD, mais néanmoins souligner un certain nombre de résultats, déjà plus de 30 boursiers inter-ACE.
But there's been about 30 scholarships that are supported on 42 development projects. The establishment of training programs between centers with catalogs and the organization of workshops for all thematic centers. So these activities are really profitable for the project and for centers individually who using this opportunity to collaborate and guarantee research. So I will stop here so that I don't go into details, but I want to thank all participants for being here, and I wish all of us a fruitful session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Quentin Depeche. Appreciate all the three presenters for their opening remarks. Now they've officially opened the 5th regional workshop. So at this point, I would like to hand over back to the chairperson for the plenary session 1, Dr. Maud Seka, and the floor is yours, Dr. Maud Seka.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kandawaya. I must also admit that the opening remarks are so inspiring that it triggers us to the next session with high hopes. I think we can go straight to the presentations now, starting with Dr. Kandawaya yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Seka. I'm going to share progress for the ACE Impact project on behalf of the RIFU and World Bank. And in terms of the 6 months, we've really managed to implement certain activities, and the progress has been very significant despite some notable challenges. So the presentation covers that outline, and in terms of the progress so far made for the first and second ACE Impact countries, we are presenting the earnings, what they have earned at the moment. So for the first ACE Impact countries, we have 5 countries from the first table. Next slide, slider. The first table represents the first ACE Impact countries, and those are the percentage earnings as of to date. And the second table presents the second ACE Impact countries. There are 6, and also those are their earnings at the moment. Benin is leading within the second ACE Impact earnings. So part of the project, we have component 2.2, where we work with the RSFI, that's the ICIPE, and within this is the PASET program. So we just wanted to give you highlights on this component, but additional details for this session, for this component will come in the subsequent session this week. The ICIPE team will be sharing the comprehensive progress on this. But in a nutshell, there's also significant progress that has been made in this component of the ACE Impact program. So the 5 participating countries, they all signed the subsidiary agreements, and 4 have really gotten the authorization and first disbursements. Nigeria will be also getting the disbursements soon. As I said, the details for these countries and how the PASET is provided in the subsequent. And then within the same PASET component, there are student components. They recruit students from the ACE Impact countries, and the participating countries have also made significant progress in getting these students for the PASET program. So PASET at ICIP, they have had at least a total of 3 cohorts now for the students who are already enrolled, and those are the numbers as presented in the table. Next slide. Next. So we've also worked with all the national facilitating units at national level. As per the project arrangement, we have 4 national facilitating units. This is because of the number of centers they handle, but it's within the components of the project 3. So I just wanted to highlight the progress that we've made in this component as well. So for Nigeria, as you can see, they've made a number of progress, activities achieved. They focused much on country effectiveness, and now the country is effective. Letters and disbursement letters will be issued, and they'll get their funding. And then for other activities, they've done a number of trainings to the centers, about 17 centers in Nigeria, targeting the procurement, the finance officers. And they helped the centers to accelerate their annual work plan submission for subject matter experts review, and finally obtaining a no objection from the bank. And same applied to the Gambia. Efforts were really targeted towards the transformation of the GTTI Center to a full-fledged university, the Gambia University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, and this was very successful. And then they also strengthened partnership with the Ghana, the Kwame Nkrumah in Kumasi, and supported the centers in overseeing all the DLIs. And then Burkina Faso also registered significant progress at national level, and they hosted national review committee meetings, checking on the progress, responding to any challenges that were identified. and also they conducted a number of trainings to their centers, about 4 centers in Burkina. And then GTEC here in Ghana with 9 centers, they also coordinated a lot of activities, including the monitoring visits to the 9 centers that were organized, and trainings in finance, procurement, monitoring, and evaluation to all the officers supporting the centers. So in addition to that, we also coordinated some inter-ACE networking initiatives. So these inter-ACE networking initiatives, they are within thematic areas. Some are funded by the IRD. Those are 4 bullets in a blue circle, and then the other ones are supported by the ACE Impact, potential funded by the ACE Impact, just to promote the inter-networking. So within those inter-networking activities, these networks hosted some symposium, having students, faculty working together in their thematic groups. But as of today, they have hosted about 5 thematic networks in different areas: transport, energy, education, and health. So there's one more being planned for the 2nd week of June, that is agriculture. But what has come out from these inter-networking, we've seen students really creating contacts with other students from other centers outside their countries, and also research areas being identified as areas for their collaboration within the region. And within the same inter-ACE networking initiatives, we sent out a call. We realized some of those were funded by IRD, but also we wanted to give the opportunity to those that were not funded by the IRD, just to make sure that they are also getting some seed funding to support their networking activities. So some seed funding we identified in the last quarter, in the last work plan and budget, and this was allocated, and we sent out a call to the networks that were not funded by the IRD so that they could submit their innovative ideas, and they were reviewed by an independent evaluation team. And out of that call, we received 10 applicants. And from the 10 applicants, these are networks, 8 have been awarded, and the awarded ones are in black. The red ones were not awarded. The reasons being some of the network members, they were already belonging to other networks within the awarded groups. So some considerations were made, and feedback has been given to these networks to address their issues, and they'll be resubmitting their proposals, and within few weeks, they should get their funding to start their networking activities. And I just want to also highlight on verification processes for selected DLIs as part of the progress also registered. Detailed verification results processes will be given in the subsequent session, but we just picked out this one just to provide the detailed processes for these 4 indicators that we are focusing on immediately. So we have DLI 2. This is development impact contribution by the centers. So according to the arrangement of the project, we are supposed to do this twice in the project timeframe, and the first one is due, the first assessment verification. So what we did was to constitute a working group to look at the verification protocol indicators and agree on what should be done for this particular indicator, taking into account what has been provided in the operations manual. So by 30th of June, we are expecting to have an external firm to be in place to carry out this verification for DLI 2. And verification details will be provided immediately after the workshop. And for DLI 4.3 on teaching, learning, and research environment, centers were given templates for formulations to provide their formulations. And we had a number of clinics from Abuja up to the last meeting we had virtually. And most of these formulations have been approved now. And very soon we'll also start providing the verification for these. And finally, on DLR 5.3 on entrepreneurship and innovations, as well as DLI 7, institutional impact, these two, we have specific sessions this week. We'll be detailing the process, and by the end of this workshop, we shall have the process in place and clear guidance to all the teams to enable them submit the necessary documents for verification. And also what we've done is to provide some capacity building webinars in different areas, some related to project operations like M&D communication and others. And some of the webinars we focused on support to the ACs to get to know what is required for certain verifications to complete. For instance, institutional accreditation by international bodies. That's international institutional accreditation. So we invited a number of bodies to just for information sessions. And so far we've done about 2 of them. And we have additional ones coming up with different providers, and the countries and the ACs will now have opportunities to see what fits within their national context. And then also we've had partnership with Elsevier, where we've provided some webinars on publication and scientific communication, and many more others have been scheduled. So far, those are the capacity building webinars. And we also continue to provide implementation support to the ACs by engaging the subject matter experts to provide technical backstopping, as well as support the acceleration of the work plan development by the centers and DLI earnings achievements in terms of areas where they were having challenges. So out of this process, 53 annual work plans were cleared, and we also supported in terms of providing guidance. The experts provided guidance in many specific ways, and their reports were submitted to AAU. So at the moment, we have an upcoming mission also scheduled that is well outlined, and centers will be informed immediately after this meeting on our upcoming implementation support with the experts. Of course, notable emerging issues were also presented in the experts' reports, as highlighted in the slide. Of course, COVID continues to slow down the progress in achievement of various indicators. We've also realized a lot with the centers contributing a lot in various ways. Next slide. Contributing a lot in various ways, particularly with what COVID pandemic had brought in terms of the negative implications, but the centers really worked tirelessly to contribute in terms of the management. So we've grouped all this in 3 categories: scientific contribution by many centers, SG, WACB, SNTDBF in Nigeria, where they were contributing to mass testing, genome sequencing, and publications. And then also on technological innovations, many centers have contributed. Wakisa, Kwame Nkrumah, these are just examples, but there are many. We have a database on this contribution. And then transformative research, book contributions, book chapters being developed by various centers, and also some other notable publications. And in terms of their development, impact, contribution, being recognized by good work they are doing, staff members receiving awards from reputable institutions, and this has also been recorded by many centers. And these are just examples, there are many. We have a compilation which is available in our reports. And finally, I just wanted to highlight on some of the challenges. Not everything was good as presented, but there were some notable challenges, and these are listed as COVID pandemic, as we had indicated, affecting students' recruitment, internship placements, and staff mobility. And then also we've noted that most of the centers, the next slide. And we've also noted that most of the centers, they have limited reference on the project operations manual. We would like to encourage your centers that all the information, the adjustments that we've given, they are available in that manual. So we should take advantage of that so we can fast track some of the results that you already have, and the manual presents all the detailed processes. And then some notable delays in procurement processes at ACE institutions. I think these are internal, but I think it's a challenge that affects certain DLIs as the centers are incrementing. And then finally, experts also noted that the restrictions in physical missions is really impacting on some of their work that they need to do while they are on site. So I think for certain centers, this will be affected. But I think World Bank and AAU will be discussing on these issues and see how best we can support these missions. So thank you very much. I would like to end my presentation here, and I hand over the floor to Professor Dr. Modak Seka from the Gambia. So thank you very much. I hand over the floor to the session chair. Dr. Moda Seka, I don't know if you're still connected. I would like to hand over the floor, but if there are some connectivity challenges, to save time, I would like to just invite Maud, who is going to make a presentation on behalf of the Equia and Himdad, and then Equia will come in and Himdad to add. So the floor is to you, Maud. I hope the session chair is still connected.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry. So the presentation is just, sorry, in French. Donc, bonjour à tous. La présentation d'aujourd'hui présente une analyse qui a été faite en termes de performance des centres, des différents centres dans les deux projets. Donc, au niveau de cette analyse, il y a 3 facteurs qui ont été pris en compte. Donc, les résultats atteints, les décaissements reçus.
Result achieved, disbursement received for the result, and the utilization rate for funds that were received by each center. In terms of results for DLIs, a couple of results have had a rate of 25%. As part of these indicators, we have master and PhD student enrollment and publication articles too. So the team uses this opportunity to congratulate all centers which were able to achieve 100% in the achievement of these indicators. There are other indicators for which the achievement was much slower, like short-term courses, internships, and accreditation. For DLIs on financial management, infrastructure, and development impact, verification is scheduled for upcoming months, and we anticipate that rates will be improved by then. For proportion of results achieved, this is expressed in percentage for the overall allocation that was given to each center. For the first ACE impact, the average percentage is 39, with 9 centers going over the average. So these are centers from Burkina Faso, Ghana, and Senegal. For the second ACE impact, the rate of achievement is 20% in average, with about 12 centers going above the average percentage. These are centers from Benin, Nigeria, and from Niger too. Also Cote d'Ivoire. The second part of the assessment focused on disbursement in every centers and countries. I'm talking about disbursements that were made. This disbursement encompasses funds received by centers, and for countries that have national facilitation units, we are talking about disbursement that were processed for these agencies, and the disbursement that were made for countries participating in the former component. The average as at 11th May is 26%, and we anticipate an increment of 7% by the end of this month, after all the earnings made by centers for which letters were sent last week. For the second ACE impact, the average figure is 11%, and it's expected to increase to 22%, which is an important increment of about 15 to 17%, mainly anticipated, and we hope the disbursement of Nigeria will consider results that were achieved from the beginning of the project till now. Talking about funds used by each center, we have 4 centers that were able to have a good rate of utilization. We have MITIC in Senegal, the RCEE, the KNUST in Ghana, and ENCA in Cote d'Ivoire. Looking closely per project, we have an assessment that focuses on performance of centers in their national context, and we have the centers from Ghana that have about 15% of disbursement rate, MITIC, and in Burkina Faso, the College of Engineer, which is leading with 11%. For the second ACE impact, the leading center with 32% of disbursement rate is NCA, followed by CERSA with 7%. We also have a center from the Gambia coming up next. This is the update concerning disbursement rate, utilization rate, and results achieved by centers. Thank you very much for your attention. I give the floor back to Sylvia.
Thank you so much, Maud. I now note that Prof. Seka is back online. So, Dr. Seka, kindly take over the session.
Okay, thank you, Kandawe, Doctor. You are right, I was locked out, so I had to struggle to come back. Luckily, I've made it. It's technology, one of those things. Anyway, I believe in my absence, you have completed your presentation, and the next person on the line would be Dr. Benton. Is that the case?
Yes, the next is Dr. Bentila and Madam Yusuf.
Okay, I think let's have Dr. Bentil then.
Thank you, Dr. Matseka. I think since it's first ACE impact first, I'll pass it over to you, and I'll come in after. Yeah. Himdat?
Morning, everybody. I think we have some audio issues a little bit, but merci tout le monde et bienvenue pour la réunion. I will speak a little bit in French and then try to switch off over to English. Pour le premier impact, la prochaine étape.
For the first part of the presentation,
oui, c'est la première étape, c'est pour le décaissement. Il faut
on disbursement. There is a need to improve the disbursement letters for all countries, and this week we have to ensure that letters are sent after verification of result. For the second point, we need to finalize the assessment for DLI 2 because this is the new addition. We need to do a review for this assessment because DLI 2 focuses on development impact. The next step is to finalize the MNEL digital platform. We also need to provide an update for a meeting with Sharp Center in November.
Very, very important aspect of the project. One of the things that we had agreed was that we would start the midterm review from June, and it would go on all the way to the end of the year and also early next year for the second ACE impact. And as you all know, the objective of the midterm review is really to look at how the project is proceeding and address the overall technical aspects of the project. So, for example, how the indicators are relating to the project development objective. Are we on track? And most importantly, a lot of countries have an unallocated amount. So this is an opportunity to reallocate funds from this unallocated amount. And additionally, we will discuss extensively the technical benchmarks that we would be using as to what are the criteria for reallocating these funds. Additionally, in those extreme cases where we hope we don't have situations, but in the unlikely event that we have challenges with implementation progress, we will need to look at to what extent we also reallocate away. And this is only because the project has a limited timeline. And of course, both Ekwa and myself are working hard to see if we can get a project extension given the COVID situation last year. But this is not something that is guaranteed, and that we're working hard to try to get this. And depending upon the extension that we get, even if we do get an extension for a year or so, we still require a significant acceleration of implementation. As you saw, some of the centers had results and disbursement of around 20% or so, and then the utilization rate, which is a very, very important indicator, is well below 5%. And you're talking about we're in year 2.5 of project implementation. So even if it was a triple uptake of implementation, it still would require more than that in order to execute the funds effectively before project close, even assuming an extended project close. So a lot of discussions will be taking place nationally and regionally over the next 3-4 months in terms of those technical assessments. And we have excellent experience from ACE1, where we have undertaken a similar approach. As you all know, this is a performance funding project, so we have to apply the performance aspects. But on the most part, very good progress on the centers, so we will hopefully not be doing that. And most of the aspects we'll be working on is actually reallocating money to the centers that is in the unallocated aspect. I will stop there and invite my twin, Dr. Ekwa Bentel, to come in and also add on the next steps. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Himdat. Et bonjour tout le monde. I also speak a little bit of French and then just switch over. Merci à tous les directeurs du Centre d'Excellence.
Thanks to all the directors
Bienvenue
for
tout le
Centers
monde.
of Excellence.
Nous
I
sommes
wish
ici
you
aujourd'hui
welcome
pour
to today's
discuter
meeting.
de
We are
l'état
gathered here to
d'avancement du
discuss on
SIA
the
Impact.
update for ACE
À
Impact.
présent, nous voulons voir des résultats
And today
accélérés
we want to
dans
see
tous
accelerated
les
results
centres.
in all
Ceci est
centers.
particulièrement important
This is
pour
really
que nous
important
approchons la phase du
since we are getting to
mi-parcours.
the midterm
Nous
review,
décidons quels centres bénéficieront du
where we will need to
financement
decide on
additionnel
which centers
et quels
will
centres
have additional
perdront le
funding and
financement.
which
Je
centers
vous rappelle
are going to lose
qu'il est
their funding.
crucial
I need to remind
d'accélérer le processus
all that
pour les
is
6
really
mois
necessary to
prochains.
quicken the process for the next 6 months.
So I will switch now to English. And I think, as Himdat said, you know, we've seen some good results, but we still have a lot of work to do. And particularly in terms of how centers are utilizing the funds that have gotten into your account. And we hope you accelerate that. And we discussed a lot of the challenges at the country roundtables. And particular challenges in Nigeria, which is unique, but we had some very good discussions around that. As you can see, we have a lot of activities planned, and we hope that you would take advantage of all of these activities. But very well done in spite of the great challenges with COVID and many other things. Thank you very much. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much for Dr. Bentel and Himdat. I think I will give the opportunity to Quentin to wrap up the presentation from the AFD. Quentin, you have the floor.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. For AFD, I just wanted to focus on the slides. Just to make sure that the AAU team can put the slide on ACE partner. Is it possible?
Yeah, carry on.
So I just wanted to focus on ACE partner. The rate of disbursement, the result achieved by centers, result per indicators for ACE partner, for the ACE partner project. I wanted to focus on result and key actions.
Thank you, Quentin. We are going to feature that one shortly.
Uh, 33 inter-ACE scholars that are funded for masters and a PhD, and they are working on scientific issues, management of climatic risk, COVID-19, build data, cybersecurity. Through the ACE partners, we have scholars that have received mobility scholarships, and there have been 4 events of launching and the establishment of a training program, just like I mentioned, including the creation of partnerships with the business school in France, an opportunity to do an incubation for startups on thematic networks. A lot of applications have been made, and this will help us to have support in terms of incubation for the project. I also want to focus on the next project and inform all centers part of the thematic network of the launching of the website for ACE Partner Web, which will also be related to the AAU website. There's also a signature of an agreement for support to management to research, and the next production of a book on article writing for June, and there will be a call for offer on this. I also need to say that the thematic networks are also focusing on the establishment of stakeholders with the inclusion of companies and networks that are existing in the ACE Impact project in order to ensure that networks are sustainable enough. It's important to mention that today there is a session at 1:30 p.m. with the AAU that will give details on the progress of ACE Partner and every activity that will take place per network. Thank you very much to the AAU.
Okay, thank you very much, Quentin, for that brief statement. I think we can now move to the last part, which is the question and answers. Dr. Kandawea, are we getting the questions posted on the chat box?
Yes.
Okay, please post your questions on the chat box, and then we'll call the panelists to answer to some of your concerns.
Okay, so for the questions that are related to the AAU presentation on update, we have a question on RESEN that we need to add one member, a partner, Sia Ajiu, into the RESEN. That is noted, and we shall do so. But we just wanted to clarify that RESEN is among the two networks that were not selected, and they were highlighted in the presentation. So RESEN and ANOF, this is the one on One Health, they were not selected, they were not successful. So from the chat box that we see, team members from the ANOF were asking that we had given them feedback to address the proposal, and make sure that they resubmit. But from the evaluation process and reports, these two, RESEN and ANOF, were not successful. But we noted these two, the partners also were belonging to some of the 8 networks that we have funded. So most of these partners are already partnering with the other networks that were successful. So that's, I think, also some good news in that regard.
Okay, is that the end of questions for you?
They also say MITIC is missing in the DSN partners. We will cross-check and include that. Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have questions for the TTLs from the World Bank?
Not on the chat.
Sylvia, there's a hand raised. Chair.
Yes. Yes, you have the floor. Please go ahead.
I'm the one with the hands raised. Professor Marco is my name. Can I go ahead and ask my questions?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Why not? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want 2 clarifications from Kandrea. One, I observed that my center, the African Center of Excellence for Mycotoxin and Food Safety, was not listed as one of the centers that participated in the faculty and student symposium. And I know we participated, and I, as the center leader, coordinated 2 sessions in the public health and drug development session. So I just want to put this on record so that our names are captured. The name of our center is captured for record purposes. Number 2, the African Center of Excellence led the group that wrote for the establishment of the West African Food Safety Network. That is the WAFOSAN. And we want to know, we're expecting to have our award letter today as written in the letter. And if so, what next? Are we resubmitting a budget or what? We want some
clarification
on how to go ahead from that point. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. I think we listen to Kandawea for an answer, or for answers.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you very much, Prof, for raising these important questions. And for the first one, I think it's a comment well noted. We are going to update that. And I think what we will do, we had already circulated an email. We wanted to get a list of all participants for various symposium, including students, lecturers, subject matter experts. So we have this record well kept in our system. So we will receive all that, but your comment is well noted. And then for the what next for WAFOSAN as a network, I think this will apply to all the selected networks as well, this information. As we had indicated in our letter, there was a process and we received comments from the external evaluators, and these external evaluators provided feedback on areas that needed to be strengthened. So some had issues to resubmit the proposal. All of them will have to resubmit the proposal, taking into account the Annex 1, which we provided on the weaknesses, addressing those areas. And then secondly, in terms of the letter, grant award letter, yes, we are aware, we are preparing these documents. We should be able to send these documents immediately after the regional workshop, and all the successful networks will get their award letters. And we had also another additional question on DLI 2 on the chat. What is the information? Where can we get this information on DLI 2? To begin with, the upcoming sessions this week, we have a specific session on DLI 2, where part of the working group members will be presenting the details, what has been done on DLI 2, what are the proposed next steps, and the timelines that we are looking at to work on the DLI 2. So there's a specific session with that information, but DLI 2 specifically, we are looking at the contribution of the institutions towards the development challenge. So there are clear indicators in the operations manual, and we'll be unpacking all those during the upcoming session. And then there was a last question about the PASET, the processes, indicating, one of the participants indicating that the process has begun. The PASET that we provided here was just to give you an update from the component 2.2, which is managed under ECP. That is what has been happening at ECP. So if there's more information also to get from that, we have a specific session where Dr. Moses Osiru, the regional manager for PASET, will be providing this detail. But the PASET benchmarking will be handled under the DLI 7, and the processes will be also listed. I know there's always this information to be clarified on PASET benchmarking and the PASET ECP, and we made these specific sessions that we can clarify better on this. So we welcome all centers to the PASET session so we can get adequate clarity from the Basset ECP team. Thank you so much, Chair. I think we've responded to all that related to AAU.
Okay, thank you. I can see that there is also a hand from Oris Ibere. Oris, you have the floor.
Can you unmute me now? Okay. Sylvia, please, I need a clarification. I had some sort of impeded audio while you were responding to the chat, to the question I raised on the chat box. This with respect to the proposal we submitted from AC Puto. That proposal was not successful. I want to find out from your presentation this morning, are we to respond to the remarks made by the reviewers and resubmit? That's the clarification I just want. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Kandawe, back to you.
Thank you very much. What it means is that the proposal was not successful for this time around for funding, so we are unable to fund it at the moment. But I think the proposal is an opportunity for the team members to strengthen it, addressing the key issues that were identified by the external evaluators, and we can submit it for other additional funding windows that may be available. So as part of the next steps that we are looking into to support these networks, we would like to make sure that we work with the networks to identify additional funding opportunities, because what we are providing is just seed funding to initiate certain activities. So for those that were not successful, we'll be working closely with them to submit for other funding windows. So it will be good, Prof, to address all these issues and make sure that we are ready when a window avails. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much. This is very clear now.
I saw Dr. Khadim Bake raise his hand earlier. Do you want to still speak, Doctor? Hello, Doctor? It seems as we've lost him. Any other questions from the chat box?
Yes, some
okay, Ben. Sorry, yeah.
Relates to the World Bank.
Yes.
Few of them, so I would like to maybe Maud to respond to them and the team.
Okay, raise them, please.
What are the plans for sustaining SCs in their countries? The sustainability of the SCs, what are the plans maybe from the financiers' point of view? And then also, another one is a comment that we hope that the logistic issues in respect to funds disbursement in Nigeria is being resolved. That's to the World Bank team and AFD. So I think maybe...
Okay, those are the two questions. Can we have Dr. Bentel to maybe raise his observation question and then answer those questions also, if possible? Dr. Bentel, you have the floor.
Sure, I will just touch on a couple of these points, and then I think that you may also come in, or Quentin as well. So in terms, I'll start with Nigeria. So Nigeria, it's not, I don't think it's not a logistics issue. So the government needs to approve Nigeria's overall borrowing plan. So that needs to happen at the government side. But we are hoping that that can be taken care of very soon, so that disbursements can happen for the centers. With respect to the question of sustainability, I think that's a question that we all have at the back of our mind and is central to the foundation of the ACE Impact project. as part of the project, we encourage the centers themselves to seek additional funding. So we incentivize them by matching funds that they raised externally, whether through consultancies with industry or other sectoral partners, and through the various consultancies. Also, we encourage centers to have professional short courses, basically to train people that are already working, whether in related ministries or even in industry, in the latest whether it's latest tools, latest methodologies within the field of the various centers to generate more income, and we'll push them towards strengthening their partnerships. Some centers have been able to really leverage the little money that they get to access quite a good deal of money, actually. So we hope that can continue as we proceed. But it's not always easy, particularly within the COVID era, for centers to raise additional funding. But that's definitely a core part of the project. And that also leads to the whole, the networks that we've encouraged the centers to form, so that collectively as well, these centers will become very visible and will be able to attract additional partnerships and funding. So I'll stop there. I don't know if Himdat and Quentin, you have anything to say with respect to this issue on sustainability.
Himdat?
No further comments from my update. It's okay.
Okay, Quentin.
En revanche, je vois qu'il y a une question.
I think there's a question that is being asked regularly on indicator 2 for impact, for the assessment of impact on development for centers. I think it will be interesting for the AAU to share the methodology that is expected to be used for assessment, its content, and the criteria.
Okay. Any other question on the chat box, or anybody who wants to say something?
Sylvia, would you like to respond to DLI 2 comment from Quentin?
Sylvia?
So for DLI 2, we have the process, we initiated the process. We constituted a working group, and this working group designed the TORs for the external evaluator, but also clarifying some of the indicators that we needed to consider for the DLI2 as per the operations manual. So within the operations manual, table 6, there's a verification protocol for DLI2 and other DLIs. So we looked at all that and then brainstormed. So within this working group, we had members from the participating institutions, the ACs. We had at least a representative from the renewed centers, a representative from emerging centers, and we also had representatives from the subject matter experts working together, brainstorming. So at the moment, we have a complete TOR that will be used for sourcing the frames that could help us with carry out this verification for DLI2. So more details for this DLI will be coming in the session on Thursday. There's a specific session on DLI2 verification protocol. And so we shall have that session. So we invite all centers to really attend this session so they can get additional details and some of the highlights in terms of the indicators that we are looking into. But the process is going to be finished by 30th of June. At least we should have an independent evaluator by 30th of June. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Kandawea. I think we are coming close to the end of the Q&A session, but I will give 1 more minute for anybody who wants to say something as a last question, or maybe from the chat box. Over to you. Yes, I can see Obana. You have the floor, please. Joel, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Professor Bona Joel from ACC for Uniport. I need a clarification. For instance, you have donors who give you something like equipment, or they build facilities for you, organization like PASSET. So how do you quantify the revenue from them in terms of getting a refund for IGR? I know that if you have partners who support you in fund, you can get back what the terms in terms of the money equivalent. But when you have an organization that gives you something like equipment or facility building, or organization like PASSET that sends students to you, so how do you report that as to get a refund in terms of IGR arising from that organization?
Okay. Do I take the second question and then we have responses and close? I have another one from Babakar Faye. Babakar?
Bonjour, vous m'entendez?
Good morning, can you all hear me? As part of the call from the networks, we made a submission from 4 francophone networks, including CA, AG, and as at now we haven't received any results pertaining to that submission. I want to know if our submission has been received, because in the presentation I saw that it was highlighted in red. So we don't really have an explanation. Can you please elaborate on that?
Okay. Okay, can I get 2 responses from either Bentil or Kandawea?
I can come in on the revenue generation. Thank you all very much. So we had a lot of discussion on this during ACE1, and at that particular moment, and I think this is maintained, because the whole point of revenue generation is to encourage fundraising and sustainability aspects. And this is a key part in terms of the actual funds that are transferred. So when we talk about equipment, and, you know, we're very happy that you're able to receive equipment and other contributions that are in kind, but revenue generation is not about in-kind contribution. Revenue generation is about actual revenue generation. And if we are to go down that complicated route of sort of having, looking at equipment and valuing it and how much it's worth and all these things, it's not a very clear process. And we might get requests from certain centers that they receive furniture, and therefore we need to, you know, look at how much this is worth. We see centers that have said we received equipment. How much is this worth? Certain centers will say we've received, you know, other sort of in-kind contribution, and it will be very complicated also to try to verify such a thing. And the main objective of this matching grant is to establish a matching grant mechanism within the center. And we are seeing some aspects where some centers are even going beyond in terms of revenue generation, taking it a step further to be the leaders within their universities to establish endowment funds. So we have to look at this as a systemic support to the center and university, that we want to support the sustainability factor. One of the questions raised earlier is, what is the World Bank doing about sustainability? One of the factors that we're doing about sustainability is to encourage really a focused attention from leadership on revenue generation that, looks at research consultancies, looks at competitive grants, looks at partnerships with the private sector. Because if this is just about gaming the system to get the DLI, we can do that, but that isn't necessarily going to lead to the long-term benefit in terms of the actual revenue generation objectives of this DLI. So at this particular moment, and also in terms of the complexity of trying to recognize equipments, etc., and valuing them and getting engineers and architects to try to look at these contributions. So that is the current thinking. I recall in ACE1 we had a lot of discussion, even with Andres Blom at that time, and this was something that I think, it's one of those things where, we need to maintain the ACE impact and the ACE project sort of focus on this quality revenue generation aspect. I invite my twin Ekwa to come in case she has any additional comments. Thank you.
Thanks, twin him. I think this is very good to hear, and to also just recognize that indeed centers are getting, equipment, in-kind support, as well as funding support. I think that's very good. But just to add a point to what Himdat was saying, you would realize that later in the week, we have a presentation, a session on DLI 5.3, which has to do with startups, entrepreneurship, and the engagement with industry. So one of the things that we hope that centers will start to do is to actually make your equipment accessible to, industry around where you live, so that, an industry partner, or they could not necessarily be a partner to the center, but would know that the center has a particular equipment that they may not have, but they find useful. And, as they come to use it, you can charge them and generate additional revenue through that, right? So although we may not directly give you funding for equipment that you may have received, we hope that you'll be able to actually generate additional funding, whether it's testing equipment that you can make accessible to the private sector within your sector. There's also a question in the chat about what we do with if the networks come together and generate funds, through your own application as a network, whether or not we'll match it. We'll think about it. We'll have to see, because we'll have to figure out who gets what, right? Is it split equally among the centers, and we, give funding towards that? But Himdat and I will note that down and come back to you on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we can now bring this session to a close with closing remarks from the chair. I think we have all been convinced through all the presentations, introductory remarks, and participation of the members that this particular project is very, very important to bridge the gap that exists in our educational system across Africa. I think we have been for a long time lacking behind in terms of creating jobs, and when creating jobs, the educational system should be responsive enough in terms of providing the needed skills that are required to produce some of the products that our markets will need to buy or to sell. But if we don't have that capacity, and the continent is relying on importations to feed ourselves and so many other requirements, then we are yet to head towards a positive step in our development. I also take note that the ACE impact, according to the presentations, have made some progress under very difficult times, especially during this pandemic, but also because we've made some progress in disbursement rates. They are relatively satisfactory, but not excellent. So I think we all have a collective responsibility to make sure that the overall disbursement rate is raised to the highest bar. I think the funds, there is no doubt that we all need the funds, so we should not leave the funds unutilized at the end of the project. I can understand that part of this problem is because also Nigeria has just gone through effectiveness and has not benefited from disbursements. But collectively, I think we all have that responsibility to make sure that we raise our levels of disbursements. In addition to that, I know, for instance, also we have some important next steps to work on. Like in some few instances, in the case of Nigeria, I've spoken about the effectiveness. Now you move to the next level of making sure that disbursement starts and activities are undertaken by the project. In the case of Gambia also, we have our biggest chunk of the funds tied to construction. Thank God we have resolved some of our concerns on construction. We need to now move very fast, and this is where we need the collective responsibility of all stakeholders to accelerate the procurement process so that within the stipulated time, the construction can happen. I know also for the fact that Burkina has had some impact in training and review meetings, as well as our colleagues from Ghana in M&E and training also. I think in terms of the next steps forward, some of the key things that are coming up include capacity building, tracer study, and I know the bank is also, and donors are toying around with the idea of doing a midterm review where individual country portfolios will be assessed, and as such, the necessary steps taken corrective where possible or otherwise to make sure that some of the projects that are lacking behind are put on a sound footing. So to conclude, I will just say that we have made some substantial progress, but we must also not be complacent. We should also make sure that all of us work collectively.
Nous avons connu des progrès, mais nous ne devons pas nous reposer sur nos lauriers. Nous devons déployer plus d'efforts pour garantir la mise en œuvre à succès de ce projet.
I thank you all for your participation. It has been a very interesting session, and I'm honored to have chaired it myself. Thank you. Okay, I think the meeting is closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Seka, for the job well done, the moderation. You really kept us on time. So now we are breaking for lunch, and we'll be back at 2 GMT, 2 p.m. GMT. So we should be back within an hour to start the plenary session 2. So thank you very much for the morning session. We look forward to having you again in the session 2. So we are going to keep the Zoom link on and you can just go have lunch and you find it connected. So thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Do you have?
And it was not connected. Eh?
Recording stopped. Recording in progress. Recording in progress.